partners, and welcome to the Community Foundation's News Conference. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us, especially thank members of our Board of Trustees who are participating in this announcement, and also some who are observing the event as well. Just a couple of housekeeping notes for the media. Please submit your questions in the chat. Owing to the number of participants that we have and also the number of attendees, we're going to take questions via chat to make things a little less complicated. And I'll assemble your questions throughout the event and pose the questions as time permits, especially as the prepared remarks are concluded. And with that, I'd like to introduce the chair of the Community Foundation Board of Trustees, Dave Manzelmann. Dave.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. I am excited and proud to announce the Community Foundation of Herkimer and Oneida County's Board of Trustees Thursday approved a $10 million plan, the largest single investment in the organization's history, as an initial 10-year commitment to address racial equity and social justice issues. The board action means the Community Foundation will work with the multiple partner organizations, local governments, and residents to launch a 2-county initiative to address systemic racism in Herkimer and Oneida counties and to advance implementation of impact targeted locations. This really is a critical time for our community and our country. And the Community Foundation is building on its past work, taking this major step toward realizing a vision, a vibrant region with the opportunity for all. The board adopted the organizational vision statement, which included the word opportunity for all, and we have taken an increasing urgency, especially in the recent months, with renewed focus on equity and justice locally and in communities around the world and in our country. We are working together, as I mentioned, with our community partners for a positive change in our community. And at this time, I would like to turn it over to Jawad Rasheed, our chair-elect of the Board of Trustees. Jawad?
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Hi, my name is Jawad Rasheed, and I am a trustee on the Community Foundation Board, and as Dave have just indicated, the new president-elect. I would just like to stress how important such a large investment as a first step in our valley, Mohawk Valley, is to addressing the issues of systemic and systematic racism. I believe that our board of directors, trustees, have taken a gigantic first step towards addressing something that has had a long time coming. Many organizations, such as the Community Foundation and other not-for-profits around the country, have tried to address the vestiges of racism. They've tried to address some of the results of racism, but very few people have tried to take on the real big picture, the elephant in the room, and that is the concept of systematic and systemic racism in and of itself. I'm proud that our trustees for the Community Foundation have accepted this challenge. We know it's a first step. We believe it's a big first step. It's a big footprint. And we believe it will make a dramatic difference in the Mohawk Valley. We encourage our partners to continue to come out and work with us. We believe this will be a very big help in attracting other partners to addressing the issues of systemic and systematic racism. So we ask that if you enjoy this work, if you see the need for this work as it is prevalent throughout our country, we ask that you join with us and find ways to work in collaboration with the Community Foundation so that we can address these issues. I'm going to turn this over now to our past president of the trustees, trustees for the Community Foundation, and our current investment committee chairman, Mr. Ron Cacaro.
Good afternoon, everybody. About 15 years ago, my wife Sheila and I set up a fund at the Community Foundation, a family fund, to invest money to grow and develop and build over time to address basically mostly social needs. And we were always interested in helping with basic human needs. And the fund has grown over years, and we have in fact been able to contribute to needy causes. But this most recent occurrence that highlighted the racial inequities in our country really brought a new need to mind. And that's that we need to step up and probably, instead of addressing some of the symptoms that result from racial inequality, but maybe we could do something to help change it. And the George Floyd incident obviously was the impetus for that. But some background, 6 years ago, our family was joined with a little 2-year-old boy from Ethiopia, our grandson, Nezardin, who's the love of our lives, is a big part of our family. And although I was always aware of racism growing up, it always bothered me, I really never felt it until we had someone in our family that was Black. And spending time with them over the last 6 years out in public and seeing the reactions and knowing that this young man is going to be growing up in a world where things are going to be different than they were for the rest of his family who are white, it really impacted us. And we really, just like everybody, I know how a mother feels of a Black child, because when your child hurts, you hurt. It's the same thing with our grandson. To know that he may face some of these things, that we feel it the same way. Never felt this before. So it was the turning point for us to look at racism from a personal standpoint. And we hope that the future for him could be different than it would be for people who grew up Black when we were born. So with that, we invested in this fund to get it started. And now we're going to challenge as many people who have the interest and the ability to donate to it, because this is one way that you can help. Following the George Floyd killing, a lot of people reacted and they wanted to do something. There was really not too many places where people could identify an organization to do something about it. We could do it. And we're going to be doing it locally. So please, if you have a feeling that you need to participate, you want to do something to address the problem, and you want to do something financially, please consider joining us and contributing to this new fund. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. And now to sum up for us, Alicia Dix, President and CEO of the Community Foundation. Alicia?
Thank you, John, and thank you, trustees. And I want to thank our board of directors and our staff and our partners to getting us to this very important vote that was applied yesterday in our board meeting to make this significant statement and commitment and dedication of our resources. What we do know for sure is that things must change, and we can no longer accept residents in our community living in the margins. What we have found over time is that many partners are working hard and deliberately at making lives better, but we have never really directly dealt with racial equity and social justice. And this gives us the opportunity with our partners, who so many have stepped up to the plate, even today, with statements and joining this work, because the only way we will do this is through a collaborative model of partnership and effort and focus on making sure that all of us in this community are treated with dignity and have opportunity that is available for everybody. As this region prospers and grows, we want opportunity for all, and that is our mission. We are very much committed to this partnership model, to bringing together government, for-profit, nonprofit, civic leaders, clergy, to all work together towards bringing better results to an equitable society for all. And to really reach our highest potential, all of our residents should have that opportunity to take part in this region's economy, our society, our civic pride, And how we do that in the next 10 years or beyond, which it most likely will be a longer term initiative, will be through funding programs that are significant for residents in need, mentoring programs, outreach programs, but also the collaborations around gun violence and coalitions for all sorts of different needs that are already working. How do we bring them together for equity? There are so many facets of this work that we will be identifying in the coming weeks or months, and we'll be putting together programs and strategies to go about this work in a meaningful way. So I really am so grateful for our board's commitment and their bold dedication of care and concern for this community. And I really am looking forward to this collaborative work in our community through our industry partners, and like I said, nonprofit and for-profit, government, and all in between to make this a better world for us all. So with that, I will turn it back over to John, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Alicia, and a reminder to our participants who have joined late from the media, if you have a question, please submit it in the chat. And also, following this event, we will make it available to anyone in the media who needs it in archival form, so they can access it for quotes and for sound bites and so on. The first question, I think, Alicia, you've touched on some of this already, but you may want to expand on it. The question is, what can we see the $10 million going toward? What specifically will this money be used for to address these issues?
So many of the programs that have worked nationally are around bringing people together, coalition models. And again, first things first is a listening tour, finding out what our residents in need and our people, our communities of color are experiencing, and how do we take those priorities and start focusing on changing some of those outcomes. But you know, we've got a concept on an impact center, which is a fancy way of saying a community center with a kind of a future strategy. It's not the community center of the past. It's really focusing on the needs and opportunities of neighborhoods of vulnerable populations. And we've been targeting for years the Cornhill neighborhood, among others, across our two counties, to bring in services and opportunities like entrepreneurship and workforce training and education outreach, mentorship, internships, street teams, all sorts of different opportunities at the neighborhood level to for better access. Access seems to be a very big issue for many in our community in their you know, barriers for opportunity and prosperity. But many of these programs, some exist that we might enhance or accentuate. Some may be new. We may create a new coalition type model like we did with our lead-free MV investment a few years ago. So it could be many things, but it will be the same. It will be many things. It will be a diverse mix of investments and partnerships.
And a follow-up question regarding any of the items that you just mentioned. When will the community start seeing some of the changes resulting from this commitment?
Well, we've been having conversations with many of our community partners for quite a while, and more intensely in the last month or so since Ron and Sheila started the Equity Fund. We started convening a few area partners about what needs to change, what strategy framework can we start to work toward making meaningful changes. So my hope is in the next few weeks, we'll come out with a communication and outreach strategy, and then a framework for opportunity to fulfill a collaborative model or a coalition, and then what programs and services and additional innovative ideas we want to start creating to see this change happen. So I would say immediate, And some are going to be immediate, some are going to be shorter term, and some are going to be long term. So that's the best we've got today. We know some things that work. We want to test things that we haven't tried, and we want to really dream about new ways of doing things so we get better results.
And also, Alicia, I think, unless one of the trustees would care to address the following, where does the $10 million come from over the next 10 years?
The board has made a statement of an annual $1 million out of our annual allocation to be available for this work. So the Community Foundation annually has a pot of money that it usually typically just grants for. And we're going to refocus some of the $1 million of that money annually towards work in equity and social justice. That doesn't mean we won't be funding things that we have funded in the past. Like I said, there might be many programs that are very suitable for this work. We might ask them to enhance programs, have some deeper outreach or presence where it's accessible to populations in need. But it also, I think, will have a lot to do with community organizing and bringing residents together. And that might be new work for some new talent to get involved with. But all of that will be funded hopefully through our annual allocation that we presently make and have made for over 50 years.
Thank you very much. One last call for questions from the media. And if we hear none during these final opportunities for closing remarks from our panelists, then we will conclude. Any of the trustees or Alicia, is there anything that you would like to say in closing about today's announcement?
This is David Manzelmann. I just wanted to also mention this. This is a bold move by the Community Foundation, and we're looking forward to collaborating with all our partners, and we want to leverage outside dollars as well, bringing in our community. And this is just a start. And we're hoping to work with everybody and anybody outside to bring dollars in to address these issues for us.
As well said. There is one more question that was just submitted. Will meetings be held in future to hear from community residents to see what is needed? How will you communicate with those residents to better understand their needs?
Absolutely. Given the era we're in with COVID, we're looking at several types of outreach, whether they're virtual town halls, safely constructed community walks, which we've conducted in Cornhill in the past. We're looking at deepening our partnership with folks like Junior Frontiers, who already has outreach and town halls scheduled. Maybe that's a network for us to grow through. And other partners, the Access and Inclusion Committee through the city, they have another network that we could tap, and through our partnership with Delvin Moody, who is the Common Councilor for Cornhill, has many contacts for us to be networking through. So it will be, again, a diversified approach of outreach, whether they're town hall, larger groups, a more organic street kind of visits or walking tours, and then some one-on-ones. I will say we've done quite a bit of outreach to many of the Black leadership in Cornhill over the last few years, and many have a great interest in this work, obviously. But as we have talked to them about the potential of this commitment from our organization, it seems to have energized them and brought us tighter together. I think we will learn through a lot of those agency leads, those frontline workers, and as well as the people they serve. So I think we're going to be taking advantage of every opportunity to engage with residents. We did conduct a resident engagement process through the Impact Center feasibility study last year. We'll be doing some share back sessions to make sure that the feasibility study of the Impact Center is still relevant, and before we go forward with that concept. So again, there are many different ways for us to be doing this work, and we're going to take advantage of almost every avenue for us to do that outreach.
Thank you very much, Alicia. Anything to add, Ron or Jawad?
Just one more call again for support for those that are able to do it or are able to influence others to do it, that we can't do it alone. $10 million is a lot of money, but it's not all the money that's going to be needed. More definitely has to be raised. So please join us in helping to address this very important endeavor.
Thank you.
Yes, this is Jawad. I would just say that, again, this is a vast undertaking. Whenever you try to take on the issues of racism head on, rather than just some of the results of racism, it's going to be intricate, it's going to be complex, it's going to have some short-term immediate needs to be addressed and some long-term needs that has to be addressed. I think that part of our hope and plan is to be able to also utilize some of these funds to create actual platforms and agency within the Black community, the Hispanic community, the Korean community, to allow people to actually have agency to address the issues of systemic and systematic racism that are not solved by just funding programming. We need an ability to actually reach institutions, work with various institutions throughout our community, and that takes agency. So that's another level, another type of platform that our community will have to look at and try to address to make meaningful change in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And if there are no more questions, you should have all received the news release by now. And if any media representatives need assistance or support, please feel free to reach out to me or to Kayla Ellis here at the Community Foundation. The email addresses, you can find us most easily by simply emailing info@foundationhoc.org. And my contact information is on the news release. Thanks again to the members of our Board of Trustees, both for listening in and for participating in today's news conference, and also for their action yesterday. Thank you again. And this concludes our news conference.
Thank you.